This video was created using artificial intelligence, AI, for educational and narrative purposes. All characters and events are fictionalized representations inspired by historical realities. Viewer discretion is advised.
In 1800 BC, in the fertile and unpredictable land between the Tigris and the Euphrates, human civilization did not survive because of abstract ideas, speeches, or moral codes. It survived because there was enough physical force to turn raw earth into food. Before cities became permanent and before temples rose as symbols of power, there was an animal working silently every day, carrying what would later be called civilization. That animal was the ox. In ancient Mesopotamia, oxen were not at the center of myths, nor were they celebrated as heroic figures. They were treated as living instruments, woven so deeply into daily human routine that their presence became invisible. While people learned to control floods, divide land, and record transactions on clay tablets, it was the ox that made those ideas real in the physical world. Without it, the soil was not plowed, production could not be sustained, and urban life simply could not exist. If you want to uncover stories that rarely appear in books, stories of silent lives that carried entire civilizations without ever being recognized, subscribe to Ancient Animal Lives. Here, every episode reveals how animals lived inside the great civilizations of the past, with deep narratives, a contemplative rhythm, and a historical perspective that most channels never show. To live as an ox in Mesopotamia meant being born already absorbed into a rigid and unavoidable system. From early on, animals were watched and assessed for strength, endurance, and their ability to withstand continuous effort. The most robust were assigned to heavy labor in fields and transport, while the weaker ones rarely survived for long. There was no choice and no alternative destiny. The ox's body was shaped from the beginning to serve. When it was finally placed under the yoke, its routine followed an almost unchanging rhythm. The day began before the sun became merciless, when the air was still breathable and the soil still held some of the night's moisture. Hooves sank into the earth as a wooden plow cut through hardened ground, demanding constant strength with every step. The movement was slow, heavy, and continuous, without real pauses, because the time available for work always felt insufficient. Humans walked alongside, focused only on efficiency and results. The ox was not seen as an individual, but as an essential part of a larger mechanism. Its task was to open the earth, allow planting, and secure enough food to support growing populations. Without that daily labor, there would be no harvest, no cities, and no organized civilization. As the sun climbed over Mesopotamia, the work became steadily harder. Heat gathered on the ox's body, dust lifted by the plow clung to its thick coat, and breathing grew deeper, slower, and clearly visible. Still, the rhythm did not ease. Agriculture depended on absolute consistency, and any interruption threatened the fragile balance between production and survival. Beyond the fields, oxen played a crucial role in maintaining irrigation canals, one of the greatest technical achievements of Mesopotamian civilization. They hauled earth, transported materials, and helped keep channels open so water could reach distant areas. Every new canal meant more physical strain and more bodily wear, increasing human dependence on these animals. For the ox, there was no difference between working and living. Constant effort defined existence. It did not understand the purpose of labor, It only felt the unending weight across its shoulders and the growing fatigue in its joints. Rest existed only to the extent that it allowed the next day to continue, never as full recovery. At night, the animals were driven into simple enclosures. They were given water and food in amounts just sufficient to keep the body functional. There was no comfort, no proper shelter, and no prolonged care. Sleep came heavy and blunt, shaped by exhaustion, and served only as a brief interruption before the cycle repeated. Over the years, wear accumulated silently. The ox aged faster than time itself suggested, because its body was pushed beyond natural limits. Its steps slowed, strength faded, and the yoke began to cause constant wounds. Humans noticed these signs quickly, not out of empathy, but because a weakened ox meant direct risk to the entire productive system. When strength began to fail, work rarely decreased. Often, it increased. People tried to extract as much as possible while any energy remained. The logic of collective survival allowed no long pauses and no compassion. The ox kept moving until its body could no longer respond to the daily demands placed upon it by the human world around it. When an ox could no longer keep pace with the required rhythm of daily labor, its usefulness ended quietly. There were no ceremonies, no recognition, no reflective pause. Some were slaughtered for meat, others simply discarded. But in every case, the disappearance was swift. The system could not stop, and another animal immediately took its place. The yoke passed to new shoulders, the field was plowed again, and the cycle continued without interruption. This constant replacement created the illusion of stability in Mesopotamian civilization. Cities kept growing, laws were recorded, temples multiplied, and everything appeared to advance in an organized way, while an endless succession of animal bodies sustained that progress without leaving individual traces. The ox did not participate in culture, did not understand religion, and did not benefit from the development it helped build. Its world was purely physical: earth, weight, and repeated movement. It did not distinguish prosperity from crisis. It only felt when the work grew heavier and rest became rarer. History rarely records these lives. It speaks of kings, scribes, conquests, and gods, but it forgets the bodies that made all of it possible. In 1800 BC, in ancient Mesopotamia, civilization moved forward because oxen accepted the daily weight of labor without recognition and without choice. When we look at the ruins of that ancient land today, it is easy to admire human ingenuity and the social organization that emerged there. It is harder to imagine the constant sound of hooves, the plow cutting into soil, and the heavy breath under the burning sun. Yet that sound was present every day, silently supporting every human advance. The ox left no names and no written stories, but it left fertile fields, functioning cities, and an entire civilization kept alive. Perhaps the true story of Mesopotamia is not only about how humans learned to organize the world, but about how many silent lives were required to sustain that organization. It was on this invisible effort that civilization managed to exist, grow, and endure for centuries.